The real estate news industry is just giddy reporting about this $1.8 billion lawsuit. The threats disrupt the entire real estate sales industry, particularly the retail portion. The news is wrong. They oversimplify things like everything. And more importantly, don't really tell you how it's going to affect you individually. So let's take a look at that. But before we get into that lawsuit, let's make sure we know where the market is right now and how it's responding to a variety of inputs. In any economy, you have two major factors: supply and demand. Supply would be how many homes are for sale. Demand would be primarily structured based on interest rates. And interest rates last week took a dramatic drop. We dropped down to 7.38%, a 0.5% drop from the prior week at 7.88. You can see it's the lowest going all the way back through October. So we've now erased the month of October's higher rates, and we're back into September numbers. And I think the main thing is that this shows that we are not headed right now, at least, to 8%. We might be next month. Things can change. But based on the current conditions right now, the rates are not a verb, but they're more of a noun. They're not where they are. And the important thing is that sometimes people overproject the translation as to where we're headed. So I don't know if they're going to drop any further anytime soon, but right now I do know rates are 7.38. That's great news for any buyers from the market who haven't locked in rates. Good for sellers because it's going to make a little more demand for the properties. Now, on the supply side, homes for sale continue at all-time record lows for non-pandemic periods. You can see right now the number of homes for sale is only slightly more than last 2 years ago, which was the peak of the pandemic low, and even somewhat slightly, but well below the other 2 years of the pandemic and before the pre-pandemic period. So at under 500,000 homes for sale, we still have the lowest on normal markets in history. And that will keep housing prices from dropping dramatically. You see news about sales dropping. That's the number of homes that are selling. And that has dropped dramatically. But the prices are holding steady. And one reason why is inflation. And the other reason why is the lack of inventory. So what does that mean? Well, in our market in Los Angeles, we have a little bit of the softening. And now this is information before the interest rates change. But in Los Angeles, our market rating now is at 40. This is from Altos Research, does a good job taking all the key factors and they put them together. We've been in 42 and 41 territory all year long. This is the closest to a equilibrium or the lowest seller's advantage of a market for the entire year. So worth noting. Now, the key factor I watch is price per square foot. How much does the average square foot house cost in LA? Down to $818. And we were previously, earlier this year, $829, $834. So that means that there's more lower price homes selling and there's more homes that are being sold in lower quality condition, maybe not as upgraded overall. So that's a key factor, is the market overall and it varies by market area, but I'm primarily in Southern California. Now, the real estate news, though, continues, I think, to always try to downgrade the market. I feel like they're always looking for a boogeyman. They're looking for somebody to blame on the real estate news to make the reader feel it's not my fault, it's somebody else's fault. And here's Bloomberg Business Week, I think, just giving up and just saying the market's bad. They say the U.S. housing market has become an impossible mess. It's not an impossible mess. I mean, it's a challenging market, but I mean, I've got escrow closed Friday. I have another one closing next week. I had an event with 40 agents in Diamond Bar last week where buyers are putting things in escrow, taking listings. I have held open houses this weekend on listings of mine, and we have buyers writing offers on them. So it's certainly not an impossible mess. It might be a tougher market for sellers. It might be a tougher market for buyers. It might be a tougher market for both, like the overall economy is more challenging, but I don't think I would say it's an impossible mess. I think that's Bloomberg Business Week just coming up with an excuse for an article about the marketplace. Another, I think, exaggeration, a regular contributor to this, is Redfin. With their article, The Housing Market Update, a record share of home sellers drop prices. Now, what does that mean? Sounds ominous, a record number of sales. So you read, nearly 7% of for sale home buyers of homes posted had a price drop, meaning the seller listed the house for sale and as a result had to lower the price to get buyers to buy it. Now, I will tell you, I had a buyer who made an offer on a property for 1.3 million and change in San Clemente, and our offer was above the list price by 2%. We didn't get a personal phone call or personal text or email. They had so many offers, they just sends back form information. So I don't know that the market is overall that significantly changed. The statistic that Redfin is saying is nearly 7% because the number is 6.9% up from 6.7%. Like, is that even relevant? It went from 6.7 to 6.9. It sounds about the same to me. You're rounding it to 7%. They both are on to 7%. So I think this is just another case of Redfin kind of micromanaging data and always, I find, trying to make it sound bad. It's always about exaggerating to the downside. And I don't know why the industry does that. I really couldn't explain that, but that seems to be the consistent pattern here. Redfin could say about the same percent, 7%, have price drops, which indicates the market's still pretty healthy to me. But they choose to go with a negative number, and I think they do that regularly. Another theme regularly I like to follow is how the news covers the government. Now, I've been in real estate since 1986, and the California went from the healthiest real estate market in the country to the from being most admired in the country to the worst. That we have more people moving out than any other state. And the main reason why is the housing cost and availability. So we really have the worst real estate market in any state. And that's interesting is the government has got more and more involved. There's more and more programs, more and more laws. And the news industry just fawns admiration. Oh, here's something that's going to solve the problem. Oh, here's something to solve the problem. The latest one, the San Diego Tribune, California has a new middle market housing law. Will it work in San Diego? And what this is for years, developers were hamstrung in new developments because a certain number of units had to be for low income, and just made the projects not economical, not enough developments going on. So the state came up with a new law, and they said, well, how about in addition to low income, you build some middle income? Well, again, I think all you're doing is making the tough business of developing property with high interest rates and high cost of labor and high cost of materials. You're just making it harder by peeling out property that you can sell at market price. To me, what seems obvious is let the developers build high-end properties. Why? Because people move out of moderate properties into high-end, and then other people move out of their low-income into the moderate, and there'll be some low-income property. By adding supply, you create the opportunity for people to move around in the economy. But when you limit supply, by definition, you make it harder for everybody. And that's why this law should be laughed out. I think last week I had an article where Gavin Newsom signed 50 bills in the month of October. Hasn't even read any of them. And this is another case where I think the California government just shows itself to be a clown show when it comes to trying to fix the real estate market. Another interesting article, this is Yahoo Finance. And they're shocked to discover that Americans need a six-figure salary to afford a new home in most cities. And what they identify is the average, to buy the average home, you need an income of $114,000, but the average household in America makes $72,000. Therefore, simple math, the average American can't buy the average American home. Voila, there's the problem. We're not making enough money and the houses cost too much. What's the obvious answer? Cut taxes, spur the economy, build more houses. We act like it's a mystery. Oh my gosh, people can't afford the houses too much. Well, it's not their fault. They're trying to make more. But I just find it interesting. These articles always make it seem like some sort of unstated reason why people can't afford homes. And the answer is we haven't made enough homes. And we're going to get into that right now. Here's Redfin. Here's a great article, I think. Redfin points out that almost a third of the homes for sale are new construction, the highest ever. This is not because home building is at record numbers. It's growing. It's higher than it's been in the last years. But it's because the inventory is so low that the home building, as constrained as it is now a third of the homes for sale. This explains why people are moving out of states that are not building homes, like California, and into states that are building new homes. Nevada, Arizona, Texas, and Florida. North Carolina, they're in Tennessee, they're building new homes. People are moving in there because there's homes available for them to get what they want. And so here's a case where Redfin is only covering this now because Redfin has had some new deal to list new construction on the website. But it's a very interesting fact that a third of all homes for sale are new construction. And that does mean that buyers need to look at that. It means real estate agents need to add that to their business practice to get out those new constructions and offer them to their customers. Another sign of the apocalypse or things not going well in our economy, Zillow, which a long time ago was a customer-oriented, data-focused company, now just become a monopoly, pushing its power around. Zillow acquires a company called Follow Up Boss. Now, Follow Up Boss is a tool used by real estate agents to track customers, market customers, and to conduct their business. Zillow previously had created another customer relationship management tool, a CRM tool, kind of like a Salesforce or other industry tools. And they bought that one. At that time, it was an industry rising superstar, and they quashed it. And now they're buying Follow Up Boss. Now, the reason why is obvious, because these companies like Follow Up Boss can take Zillow leads that people pay for and put them directly into their software. And so Zillow says, oh, we're going to let Follow Up Boss run as an independent company. We're not going to put our thumb on the scale and favor Zillow over other sources. We're going to buy this company for millions of dollars, and then we're going to treat it fairly. No, that's nonsense. They're only going to buy the company to stick it to customers who don't use them and force them to use their Follow Up Boss system or force them to use Zillow ads in their business. This is what we used to call monopolies using monopolistic power. And Zillow being the largest real estate lead source in our industry, this is the case. They buy companies with technology and then use them to force customers to use more Zillow service rather than improving their service. So again, another sign I think the economy is off track, and why, if you wonder why things are difficult, they are. Now, the big story of the week was this lawsuit that was announced. The jury verdict was $1.8 billion against real estate companies, the companies that own Century 21, Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, and the National Association of Realtors. And at its core, I think the lawsuit is completely without merit. I think it's a great fishing expedition by an attorney. As a result, they'll probably get 30% of that, or about $600 million. I asked myself the question, if the lead attorney, in the course of discussing this case, said, you know what, you're right, there is no merit, we should drop the case, I'm going to give up to the $600 million, he's not going to do it. This guy is a paid assassin. His job is to take down a company and extract money out of it. That's the business they're in. So I find it fascinating to listen in their words what the basis of the case is. I saw a CNBC interview Michael Ketchum, who is the lead attorney, and let's take a quick listen as to the basis for this lawsuit. Now, let's just analyze what he just said. First off, he's wrong that the multiple listing services are not owned by the National Association of Realtors or by companies. They're independent companies. In fact, one of my neighbor's mothers owns the MLS.com here in Los Angeles. So realtors don't own the MLS. But he is right in a sense that in order to have your listing on the MLS, you have to offer compensation to other agents. Well, why is that? Let's think about this logically. If you want me to sell your house, I have a couple options for you. One is I don't tell anybody about it and only offer it to my own customers, right? I don't put it in the MLS. I don't put it on internet sites. I don't put it on Zillow or Redfin because you want it private. I'll call my clients. I'll secretly talk about your house while giving out the address. Well, the problem with that is it never gets enough distribution to get top dollar. So there are sellers who say, I don't really care about that. Just get me 80% of what's fair, 90% of what's fair, get rid of the house, and they're fine with that. Most customers, almost all, want top dollar for their house. So the next option is I could say to you, well, we don't have to put in the MLS. My company is pretty big. I work for the largest independent company in America. We have 88,000 agents. We have our own off-market list of properties that we all look at. And I can also additionally pay to have the property put into Zillow, Redfin, and other services that will advertise the properties if you want to. The problem with that is, again, the other agents aren't going to see the property as something that they can bring their customers to. In selling property, there's a whole number of tasks. I would say half are the selling side, half of the buying side. And we came up with this concept years ago of dividing the two. And so me as a listing agent, my job is to prepare the market for the property for sale, get it in the MLS, work with my seller, get the disclosures done, negotiate offers, get the photos done, whatever has to be done to market the property, and work with the other agents. And I offer them half of the commission. They're the ones who drive buyers to the property and bring the offers in. In fact, I think what makes me a great listing agent is I'm good at coaching the buyer's agents to get their offers up, to get them formatted properly, to encourage them to counter offer when they might think that my seller's being unreasonable. My job is to sell them more unreasonable. And that's why I coach thousands of agents every month to help them be better salespeople. And by dividing the work, we can focus on the activities that we want to do. Other agents like going to open houses, agents like driving customers around, and they can do those activities. But here's the key point. A seller can come to me and say, I don't want the property offered to other agents, and we have the legal documents and ability to do that. The MLS, though, at its core is only designed, the multiple listing service is only designed for real estate agents to share the listings with other real estate agents. The beauty of it is we don't have to, it shortcuts the process. We've already agreed on the contractual terms. We've put the commission in the MLS, so they know what the commission is. They know what the terms are. We've already agreed to those terms, and it simplifies the process for everybody. But if you don't want to share it with other agents, there's no reason to put it in the agent multiple listing service. That would defy the whole purpose of the multiple listing service to begin with. So what we have here is an attorney who clearly doesn't understand, or doesn't want to understand, or understands and wants to act like he's stupid. But the reality is sellers have all the options today. Sellers can choose to list it in the MLS. I could list a property and offer it through other agents. I can choose to withhold it from the MLS, and I can choose to use other marketing services. The funny part is the commercial market here in Southern California and most of the country is a lot like what the lack of multiple listing service looks like. Because generally, commercial agents aren't in the MLS. And most of the time, the process is very opaque. Is the property listed? It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. It's very expensive to belong to the services. They charge maybe $500 a month versus $100 a month for the MLS and Association Realtors combined. So it's way more expensive to the agents. It's way more opaque to the customers. You never know, is a property really listed for sale or not by going online, because these services are not universal. They don't enforce universal rules. There's no accountability. I would say in Los Angeles, we're particularly lucky. I'm an agent that often does non-residential, commercial, industrial property. And because I'm a member of the multiple listing service, I can additionally offer my commercial properties like most top agents do in LA in the MLS. And then I additionally pay money to advertise them on commercial sites. My customers get the best of both worlds. But I will say, having sold commercial property, that process is way inferior to the customer. The commissions might be lower, but there's way less sales. The customers are almost always get double in, which means that the buyer has to use the same agent representing the seller, which in many cases means they're going to not get a fair shake. And also, many times sellers need to have attorneys draft contracts because they don't want to use standardized forms, whereas the MLS forms work beautifully for residential property regardless of price, as well as commercial and industrial property. So at the end of the day, it's a way worse system, I believe, for the customer. Now, it's interesting, CNN, always the first to be stupid, put after the $1.8 million verdict, the clock is ticking on the 6% real estate commission. Interesting, in Los Angeles, the most common commission is 5%. And that's been true for about 10 years because of the competitive pressures. Now, in LA, more agents tend to get a higher percentage of commission from the agencies. And there's a lot of reasons why. Our housing prices are a little higher. But our prices have been pushed down to 5% on average I would say the most common number for a long shot. I imagine that's true in other cities. Maybe it's higher in other places. I know when we sell land, $10,000, $20,000 land properties, we charge a higher commission because there's competitive pressures there. But clearly the 6% commission is already facing competitive pressures. It doesn't need a lawsuit to waste money to push it further. And of course, inevitably, when you have attorneys involved, now we have these sharks. Here's an example. The Pomerantz Law Firm of New York is investigating claims on behalf of investors of Anywhere. Anywhere is the company that owns the brands Century 21, Coldwell Banker, and about 10 other brands. I think Sotheby's. And so what they're saying is that their management accepted settlements rather than wait for the verdict, and they're going to sue them for that. So these poor directors and poor management in these companies, in fact, the NER president had to resign. It's like they're screwed either way. I think they got a terrible verdict. We'll see if it holds up. At the same time, they're also going to get sued if they settled. And either way, they're looking at tough shape. So what do you think? I did a detailed video on how here in Los Angeles, sellers have the control to either pay commissions to buyer's agents or not, and how buyer's agents have the control to either pay their own agents' commissions or to use the seller's commission if they want to and have control of that. What are your thoughts? So put your comments in the chat box. I'd love to hear from you. If you like the video, like it. If you like these videos, please subscribe. And as always, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.